Hello, I'm a librarian and I want to talk about academic articles. Your professor's probably asking you for scholarly articles, peer-reviewed articles. What exactly are they and where do you find them? Let's talk about it. The term academic article, scholarly article, and peer-reviewed article are actually pretty similar. They're used almost interchangeably. So this is often a good start to understand what people are saying to you when they ask for these. It can be useful to look at what these articles aren't to better understand them. This is a popular article from The Cut, which is an online interface from the New York Magazine. The article title is "Don't Call Skateboarding at 50 a Midlife Crisis." You have a picture of someone skateboarding, and below that, out of the screenshot, there's a few paragraphs summarizing research that says that skateboarding is actually good for people. It's good for middle-aged people to exercise and spend time with other people, and that it can be meditative and all these other things. There aren't a lot of details, and it's pretty informal. It ends with, "Skate on, dads." This is really, really different from the academic article. This is the article the way you would see it in a search results list in a library database. Beyond the youth culture, understanding middle-aged skateboarders through temporal capital. The title alone helps us realize right away that this is pretty different. This is very formal language and some pretty big words, some complex words, potentially even some jargon or terminology that's unique to different disciplines and fields. We see below the author's name that this is from the International Review for the Sociology of Sport. I'm going to guess that this is an academic journal. And to the right of it, I see that this is 20 pages long. So this is a very lengthy, in-depth, and likely dense summary of research that was done on this topic. The good news is when you open it up, you will likely find an abstract at the beginning. An abstract is about a paragraph-long summary of an academic article. It's a really useful tool, and it's one that's pretty unique to these academic articles. We will also see that any information that the author did not create themselves is cited, so that you have all of the information to go and read where they got that information from and learn more yourself. This screenshot shows a peer-reviewed badge. This is a really useful tool that you'll find in academic library databases. But what does it mean? Peer-reviewed is not the same thing as passing your essay to a classmate in school. This is a little bit higher level. Similar idea, but the thing that makes it unique is that this is pretty rigorous and it's with experts. People who are experts in a field write about the field, and then other experts, their peers, carefully review that information to decide if it can be published, and if so, which edits or changes or clarifications need to be made. This means that we end up with some really high quality information being published in peer-reviewed collections. This is sort of considered a gold standard, but it's important to keep in mind that doesn't mean that it can't be wrong. Peer review helps us find these high quality research efforts, but articles can and do disagree with, complicate, and converse with each other over time. That's how we build a really broad and complex understanding or nuanced understanding of the world around us. Another term that comes up a lot is journal. I don't mean something that you write your thoughts and feelings in. In this context, a journal is a publication. It's a periodical, meaning it comes out a few times throughout the year, like a magazine, but it's high quality, usually academic, sometimes professional focused. And that's where you find these peer-reviewed articles. So this is where you will find research. It's where you'll find all of the new information. Journals are usually relatively focused, so they may be about a very specific subtopic or a very specific area. Some of them are really broad, like the Journal of American Medicine Association is very broad, but most of them can be really, really specific. How do you get to these articles? Well, once you make the connection that academic articles are peer-reviewed articles, it's relatively easy to spot the filters in library databases that allow you to narrow in on these academic resources. Checking peer-reviewed journals, often on the left side of your search results or below a search box, allows you to get rid of other types of resources. Now, that being said, it's useful to keep in mind that you will occasionally run into something a little bit outside of your expectations because it includes everything published in one of these peer-reviewed journals. That could be something like a book review or a letter to the editor, kind of the filler material that rounds out these publications around the really substantial articles. So if you run into something like that, that may not be exactly what your professor had in mind. What do they have in mind? This is a great example of a typical academic article. At the very top, we see in small text the journal name and some information about how to find it. Below that, we see a title, and then below that, some authors' names. These authors' names have small numbers above them, which are footnotes. If we were to go see the bottom of this page, there's likely those numbers repeated with more information about the authors, like their credentials or their job positions or the type of work they did in this article. Beneath that, we see information about the dates associated with this article. I did say dates plural because it's common for these journals to be really transparent about the peer review process by sharing not only when it was published, but also the dates prior, when it was received and when it was accepted after peer review. Beneath that, you see a paragraph. This is your abstract. It is your holy grail to help you understand the article and decide if it's useful to you or if it's maybe not quite on topic. As you continue exploring an article like this, you may see graphs or data, and you'll see lots of in-text citations and headings. These headings help you navigate what is often very long, dense blocks of texts. This is a unique heading specific to the topic of this article. Costs and benefits of grazing livestock on public lands. Gives you a sense of what this text block is going to be about. And at the very end, we see plenty of references, all of the information you would need to find these texts and read more about them. Now, that one was an example of something that was a little bit more unique in terms of headings, but there's a lot of articles that have almost the exact same headings across the entire the exact same headings across these articles, especially in the social sciences, the health sciences, and the hard sciences when they are doing research. So the abstract is pretty consistent across every field, but then it's common to get to headings that are not as obvious as the ones we were just looking at. They're a little bit more abstract. You'll often jump into an introduction. Sometimes this has a heading, sometimes it doesn't, but this is usually where you get a brief overview of what they're going to do and why they think it's useful to do it. Then you'll jump into a literature review. In this case, literature doesn't mean classic books. It means the high quality information about this topic. So primarily academic articles, but maybe some other really high quality resources that help someone understand what do we already know about this topic. This is also an area that sometimes trips up students because this information may be new to you, but it's not new in the sense of it's not what this actual article is really trying to provide. So while you may want to go and explore some of the resources cited in a literature review, and you may get a really useful introduction to the field or to a specific topic in a literature review, the new information that you're going to want to really be focusing on in an article comes in the following sections. Up next, you'll often have a methodology. Sometimes it's called materials and methods. This is where the authors tell you exactly how they did their research. How did they collect new information? So this is generally a who, a what, a when, a where, depending on the topic. So they might tell you they collected blood pressure data, or they observed somebody, or they gave someone a survey. And they'll tell you who they worked with and where and when. And this is sort of the essential information about that research project, followed by the results, what happened, and often a discussion and analysis of what that means and potentially some sort of statistical work to get some more out of that and make connections with other knowledge. That's followed by a conclusion, which is a really, really useful place to go if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by an article. This is where the authors summarize what they've learned, talk about the potential space for more research to further clarify this question or this topic, and they talk about real-world application. So what does this actually mean for people who are taking care of someone in a hospital? Or what does this mean for a biologist or a mathematician? Now, it's important to keep in mind that the conclusions they come to here sometimes are much bigger and less specific than what you would see in the results or the abstract. So you'll want to make sure that you can understand and specify some of that information when you are talking about it. Academic articles can feel overwhelming. If you're feeling frustrated about how to find the ones that are useful to you, how to navigate them, how to navigate the library databases, be sure to ask a librarian. We would love to help you. There's a chat that pops out on the library's website when we are open, and there's a lot of other ways to contact us. Go to libguides.aurora.edu/research help to see all of them. I hope that this gave you a better understanding of what academic articles are, what they look like, and how to find them. And I hope you feel a little bit more confident.